Joining us next, we have Ahmed Al-Musallimi, the Chief Executive Officer at Sohar International. I'm not certain whether he's currently in the room, but in the meantime, let's show our appreciation to our sponsors for this conference, which will be covered after Ahmed Al-Musallimi's presentation, the Chief Executive Officer from Sohar International.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, a very good morning to everyone. I would like to thank all of you to be here, and especially those who are coming outside Oman, because how many of you who are coming from outside Oman are here for the first time? Yes, it's a good number, and I advise you to take some time after the forum and experience Muscat specifically and Oman in generally. It's a beautiful place to see before you can go back home. And I'm sure you will like the architecture, you like the hospitality, you like the whole experience. Anyway, I got some 15 minutes to spend here with you, and I'm afraid to bore you with this presentation, but if you are bored, please listen more carefully, they say. So it's very important when someone is bored, you better be careful with what is being said. What I want to say has already been said. Maybe I just want to give a different flavor with what has been said already by the previous panel, especially the last one that has discussed and gave us a better sense of about Oman economic situation, the diversification program, the Vision 2040, and all of that stuff. I think it has been very useful, it has been very insightful, and we thank the moderator for asking very relevant questions. So I thought to give that, but in a different context, start with the world or global context. I think it's important to see how the whole situation fits in the global context. Then we can have a better understanding of a local context, and then how can we navigate through all of these dynamics we see, because the going is getting tight. So what do we see? We are living in a time that is experiencing phenomenal changes and mass disruption, and the degree of volatility, uncertainty, complexity is increasingly challenging. We see that. And there are so many drivers that actually trigger all of these complexities, uncertainties, and volatilities, but I just want to mention three. I think these three are major forces that we see that are fundamentally changing and shifting the center of economic gravity to the emerging markets. And these changes are generational changes, and these changes are causing a lot of disruption. And therefore, for us in businesses, we better understand these drivers so that we can plan better and navigate better and sustain what we do. I think sustainability is a key theme here for discussion. So the first force, and these forces are almost like gravitational forces. They're very powerful, they're almost natural and cannot be stopped, maybe slowed, but cannot be stopped. The first one is the energy. We have seen over the recent past and the increasing energy demand due to urbanization. We're going to talk about urbanization, the population growth. We're going to talk about that and the demographics and the complexity around demographics and the rising living standards. We're going to touch briefly about that, and the need for energy efficiency and energy storage is becoming increasingly important. And now the share of renewable energy, I think that is the topic for discussion in the next panels. That is an important topic for discussion to understand. I've got some food for thought for those who are going to discuss this topic in the next panels. So the energy landscape, given what's happening today and the trends we see, will oil price, in particular, I mean here, will price spikes delay energy transition? Because as we speak still, there is a significant percentage, over 90% of consumption of energy that is based on the conventional energy sources. So how can we transit to the alternative energy sources? And given the prices spikes, will that delay the transition? Or will high fossil fuel prices accelerate adoption of low carbon alternatives? These are food for thought. Or will countries and companies further increase efforts and decarbonize? Or will challenges in implementation low ambition levels? Or will there be an orderly transition to a low carbon economy? Or will rapid shifts come with disruption and instability? These are food for thought. And at the global landscape, these are serious questions that I think every country, every company ask themselves. We are sitting at a very different place, and we're going to see that. But with all of this, the strain on resources is increasingly challenging. Then the water demand, for example, will exceed supply by over 50% just by 2025. We need water to produce food, we need food to feed the people, and the population is growing. How are we going to do this with limited resources when the demand is increasing, but supply is falling short? And the need to produce food is going to be more than ever before. You can see there how much food we need to produce by 2050. It's going to be more than the food we produce over the last 10,000 years of combined. This is a scary, staggering number that we need to take it serious. And the second major force is demographic shifts that we see. The global population is aging, but the good news in emerging markets, and us included, the youth population is actually a huge dividend for emerging markets. And this is the source of growth, and this is the source of competitiveness. But changes in the population age structures, migration patterns, and massive urbanization, a lot of people are moving from rural areas to urban areas to access better services, you know, the lifestyle and all of that stuff. And that is causing a lot of stress on resources, and therefore the need to invest into infrastructure to meet the demand of the urbanization because of the mass is increasingly challenging. And we can see, for example, over 1 million people every week are actually moving from rural areas to urban areas every week globally. And as a result, there is so many cities that are under construction as we speak. And you can imagine the quantum of infrastructure and basic services that need to be developed to accommodate these masses. And as a result of these major trends, over 2+ billion new middle-class consumers are going to emerge. Not that far, just in 10 years' time. It is very much within our horizon. We can see that. And this is going to bring a lot more consumption, a lot more demand, and therefore a lot more growth. You can see this will predominantly come from from emerging markets. And emerging markets, looking at Asia, here we are, and Africa as well. These markets, this geography will be responsible for more than 60 to 70% of global GDP growth over the next 10 to 15 years. This is very exciting. And this is a great opportunity but we got to be prepared to seize these opportunities. Now, look at this. As a result, over 50% in just 5 years, over 50% of the world's billion-dollar plus companies will be headquartered in these emerging markets. And we are sitting right in the middle of this. So we have a huge opportunity for us to seize this time and take advantage of this, and look at the amount of investments that need to be deployed into building infrastructure in order to accommodate these masses. Now for Oman, we have got a great demographic dividend. Over 80% of the population here lives in urban cities already. The infrastructure is there and all basic services are in place. And the access to these basic services over 90% by the population. So the infrastructure is in place, the platform is in place, we just need to leverage on this. And we're going to talk about that in the next few minutes. And we, of course, cannot conclude this particular section without talking about technological disruption. Technological disruption, I'm sure everyone can find it relevant, is disrupting everything. And what is being underestimated is the speed and scale of this disruption. And you can see, we're going to see that in a while, most of the S&P 500 companies, the lifespan of these companies has been declining year on year, decade on decade, and from 90 plus years to just 10 plus years. Why? Because of the reasons we're going to talk about. So listen, please don't be bored. I told you, if you're bored, listen more carefully. And the computing power. The computing power is incredible. The iPhone we have today is 150 times more powerful than the original iPhone. And that means a lot. And there is an argument that says this iPhone has got more computing power than NASA needed to take a man to the moon back then. Now imagine the power of that. Now, this is what makes it more complicated, the connectedness. We have a lot of devices today, a lot of things that are connected globally. There are over 30 to 40 billion things that are connected together, and over 5 to 6 billion people that are connected as we speak today. And this accumulates a lot of data. A lot of data is being accumulated, and look at that number. More data has been created in the past 5 years than the entire previous history of human race. Of course, 90% of this data is rubbish, but the 10% is incredibly valuable. Now, different technologies are being used, and this data, which they say is the new oil, look at this, of what technology can contribute. Just one particular type of technology, 10 to 15 trillion dollar contribution to the global GDP just by 2030. Now, having said all of this, these are the things that we need to keep in our minds as we plan forward. And I was very impressed to listen on how we here in Oman, and I'm sure the rest of the region, we can see there are very clear visions that have been defined with very clear plans that are put in place for the implementation and realization of these visions with very clear focus. Now for us, we are located in a strategically important place. Very different from the rest of the region. Can complement with no intention to compete, but to complement the rest of the region. And the infrastructure that has been put in place. Oman has over 300,000 square kilometers of land. For those who may not be aware of this, it's bigger in land size than United Kingdom. Only Duqm economic city, which is in the central part of Oman, is 3 times bigger than Singapore. And that city is a new economic city with a world-class port and dry dock, and the infrastructure is in place and ready to be leveraged to support Oman economic diversification plan and the Vision 2040. Stability, security. We have passed the test of time over decades, and in any investor's mind, stability, security, certainty is on top of any investor's mind before they make an investment decision. We provide that. We have heard from the previous panel discussion on the investment-friendly environment and the policies and reforms that have been actually instituted recently to facilitate this and to attract more private investments in particular, because the government has really invested a lot into the infrastructure to support business and to support investments across sectors of the economy. You've got these kind of benefits on capital and profit repatriation, skilled workforce. The literacy level in Oman is over 90%. To be specific, is 96%. And over 50% of the population is under the age of 30 years. And the focus under the Vision 2040 to diversify the economy and the potential we are going to see that Omani has, be it on minerals or be it on other stuff that are critical to the economic diversification and indeed critical to add value to the rest of the region. We're going to see that in a while. And we have a lot of minerals which are yet to be unleashed. And there is so much benefits and incentives, monetary and non-monetary, to support and promote investments. Now, look at the infrastructure that the government has developed over years. And just in 1970, when all of this started, the tarmac road here in Oman was less than 1,000 kilometers, was less than 500 kilometers, was less than 100 kilometers. Today, we have over 60,000 of tarmac paved road all across the country. I told you the size of the country is over 300,000 square kilometers, bigger than the United Kingdom. To do this is incredibly impressive. And a lot more is being planned. And look at the coastal line, all the way from the north to south. That coastal line complements the whole idea of tourism in Oman, apart from other unique features that Oman has to offer to complement the tourism initiative. But the ports, seaports, free zones, road network, and the planned rail network that all are designed in a complementary fashion to facilitate a number of sectors: tourism, manufacturing, trading, and all other sectors that they need to have these logistical kind of infrastructure to facilitate, not just to survive, but thrive in their growth plan now, plus all other opportunities with this kind of platform. There is a huge potential for any business, and we're going to see that in the next slides, to prosper and grow. Now, this is just to give you an idea when we are talking about green energy. Oman has this natural resource, natural location, endowment that position itself, and there are plans, there are policies, there are decisions, there are investments in place that have been already executed to deliver and unleash the full potential of this. Look how much this is going to change the whole economic scenario for Oman, especially given that it is green, it is needed, and Oman has committed by 2030 to produce 30% of its energy from renewable energy. This is incredibly important. And look at the amount of investments, $140 billion by 2050. That is the amount of investments that is planned to be made in Oman green hydrogen. So the potential is high and the future is bright. Now on technology, look at the readiness. Look at the readiness. Just some key KPIs. We got that number of population, and that 25 is over 50%. The youth, highly educated, tech savvy, ready to take advantage of the infrastructure. Road network, I've talked about that. Internet users, over 90%. Active social media users, mobile subscription, and so on and so forth. Look at the readiness Oman has put in place in terms of the digital infrastructure that can actually be used and leveraged by any business and scale with speed using technology, different technologies. We are already ahead of the curve. Many countries are lagging behind on this. Now, having said that, we have seen a lot of businesses struggling. And most of the businesses struggling are relating their struggles mostly to market-related reasons. But they fail to understand that first you need to reflect internally to make sure you have what it takes to sustain in order to survive and thrive. Now, I've talked about the lifespan. Look at that graph from 1935 to 2027, how the lifespan of companies projected to actually decline, with the exception of a few. And those few, there is a reason why they're able to sustain, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, and so what it takes, not only to survive, but thrive. I think the last panel and their excellencies have actually very well articulated the need for adaptability. They need to embrace the trends. Let's make the trends our friend. We can't beat them, we have to be with them, because these forces are very powerful forces. Because if you try to beat them, you become irrelevant. And now, that's the only reason, the only secret of success for most of the global companies. And those who have not been able to make it or are struggling, if you look deep and assess the reason, you will find this is the principal reason why they've not been able to sustain. So it doesn't matter whether you're big or small, intelligent or not, what matters is you got to be adaptive to change. There is a story in the Amazon forest. In the morning, whether you're a lion or a gazelle, when you wake up in the morning, you got to run. The gazelle says, If I don't run, I'll be lunched. And the lion says, if I don't run, I will not have lunch. So everybody has to run, whether you are big or small. That's the only way to survive. Embrace the change or the trend, and then be adaptive to that and move on. Because look at these examples. Netflix did not kill the blockbuster, ridiculous late fees did. Amazon did not kill the retailers, poor customer service and experience did. And Apple did not kill the music industry, being forced to buy full-length albums did. And Airbnb did not kill the hotel industry, limited availability and pricing options did. Look at the end, the power of technology. But technology is just an enabler. Not being customer-centric is the #1 threat to any business. So if you were to sustain, you got to adapt to changes and always be relevant. Once you are irrelevant, you're gone. No matter what you achieve in the past, it will not matter. And the past may not necessarily define or determine the future. The future will be determined by the potential and how and what you as a company and we as individuals become in pursuit for. So at Sohar International, we have taken this very much in mind. And just to give you a sense of our financial performance over the last 5 years, we have outperformed the market, but I am not proud of these numbers per se, although they are very impressive. What I'm very proud of is the story behind these numbers. And that story behind these numbers is actually based on the philosophy, the business philosophy, the kind of strategy, the kind of vision that we internally have adopted back then. And whatever we do, we make sure we are relevant. Whatever we do, we make sure that we are able to adapt and sustain. I think that is very, very important. And therefore, we believe that we want to become an money service company. There is no word bank in this, but we are a bank, but we'll focus on services to meet the growing customer demands and needs. But to do that, we are doing that by broadening our view into the customer needs, reimagining the business of banking, reevaluate the value chains, reconnect with our customers, and rebuild the organization that it is adaptive and we can sustain what to do. This is the philosophy that drives us within, and all the investment choices we make are to drive this philosophy and make this a reality. So at the end, you are in Oman, a place which is very stable and secure, with a lot of potential across sectors, and with an environment that is very friendly, and the infrastructure that is capable to support your growth and profitability. This is truly a place to invest. Thank you very much.